Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I took the night shift at McDonald's for an extra 50 cents an hour. At 18, that felt like a fortune. I was saving every bit I could before heading off to college, desperate to squeeze a future out of my small hometown, Calder Springs, Michigan. I'm Jenna Ruiz. What I'm about to tell you happened nearly 9 years ago, but some memories from that summer still hang in my head like smoke. Certain smells, the metallic buzz of fluorescent lights, and especially one night I still think about whenever I double lock my front door. Our McDonald's sat just off Highway 12, near the edge of town, where the streetlights were spaced too far apart and shadows stretched long. The building shared a cracked asphalt lot with a dead bowling alley that had never reopened after COVID. Across the street, nothing but an overgrown field, waist-high in weeds, tapering off into thick woods. People used to joke about that field. If you screamed out there, no one would hear you. I always rolled my eyes. Until that night. It started like any other. I clocked in at 6 p.m., tied my hair into a loose ponytail, washed my hands twice, and joined our tiny evening crew. Lena, our manager, was a lifer. She could build a Big Mac blindfolded and tell if you were slacking just by the sound of your spatula. Marcus manned the fryer, earbuds tucked under his cap, always bopping to something nobody else could hear. Then there was Kim, sharp-tongued and no-nonsense, a college dropout who trained me during my first week and still treated me like I was in training. By 10:45, the place was dead. Dine-in had closed at 10. Only the occasional rumble of a truck or the glow of headlights rolling through the drive-thru reminded us we weren't completely alone. Most orders at that hour were from stoned college kids or long-haul truckers grabbing a coffee to stay awake. I was on headset duty, leaning half asleep against the counter, waiting for someone, anyone, to give me something to do. Then the drive-thru speaker crackled. I straightened, thumbed the headset. "Welcome to McDonald's, order when you're ready." Nothing, just a low static hum. "Hello?" I tried again. "You can go ahead whenever you're..." Then a voice came through, a man's voice. Calm, too calm. "Jenna?" I froze. I hadn't said my name. None of us used names over the speaker, ever. It was against policy. It was just, "Welcome to McDonald's." That was it. My throat tightened. "Who is this?" "You sound older," the man replied. "I wasn't sure if it was you, but I think it is." My blood turned cold. My hand hovered over the headset button like it had caught fire. "Do I know you?" I asked, forcing my voice to sound steadier than I felt. "No," he said, "but I know you." The voice wasn't familiar. It was flat, expressionless, almost like it had been scrubbed of emotion. But something about the way he said that, it was worse than yelling. It was intentional, measured. Then he added, "You look different than your pictures." That line hit me like a punch in the ribs. My stomach turned. My skin prickled like it had dropped 10 degrees. What pictures? I took a step back, instinctively distancing myself from the window as my heart hammered in my chest. "There's no order," I said over my shoulder to Marcus, who was shoveling fries into a red box without looking up. "Think someone's just messing with the intercom." He laughed, not even pausing. "Probably those dumb high school kids again, bored and high." I nodded like I agreed, but I didn't believe it. I glanced toward the drive-thru window and leaned a little to the side, trying to see the menu board outside. Nothing. No car. Just empty night air. And yet, the voice had sounded close. Too close. I told myself it was over. A stupid prank. But when my shift ended around midnight, it wasn't over. Not even close. I usually parked along the side of the building, close to the employee entrance where the cameras could see. That night, as Marcus and Kim and I pushed out the back door into the thick summer air, I spotted a car across the lot near the dumpster. A black sedan. Idling. Lights off. Its engine was running low and steady, the hum vibrating faintly in my ears. "You see that?" I asked, nodding toward it. Marcus glanced up from his phone, squinting, probably waiting for a DoorDash pickup. But the lobby was closed. No pickups, no deliveries, and no reason for someone to be sitting there. Not without their lights, not without moving. Something about the shape in the driver's seat, still, dark, watching, made my throat tighten again. We said our goodnights, and I walked fast toward my car, keys clenched in my hand. My fob beeped as I unlocked it, and I slid into the driver's seat quickly, locking the door behind me. That's when the sedan's headlights clicked on. I didn't move. My hand trembled on the key in the ignition, but I didn't turn it. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. The sedan inched forward. Not toward the exit, not toward the road, but slowly, deliberately, it rolled across the parking lot until it stopped right behind me, close enough to block me in completely. My breath hitched. There was no honking, no revving, just that same steady engine purr, and the cold realization settling into my chest like lead. Whoever was in that car had waited for me. The driver didn't get out. Neither did I. I stayed frozen in the driver's seat, hand clenched around my key, chest tight. I grabbed my phone and called Marcus. It rang once, twice, voicemail. Probably had his music cranked up, earbuds in. I tried Kim, straight to voicemail. My fingers were slick with sweat, screen smudged with panic. A minute passed, then another. The man in the sedan flicked his high beams on, sudden, blinding white light flooding my rear window. I jumped so hard my knee hit the steering wheel. Screw this. I flung the door open, heart pounding like a drum in my ears, and bolted back to the employee entrance. My hands were trembling so badly I fumbled the key twice before jamming it into the lock. The door clicked open and I slammed it shut behind me, twisting the bolt, gasping for air. My keys slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the tile. Inside, the place felt eerily still, quiet in a way it never usually was, like even the hum of the fryers was holding its breath. Lena was still up front in the office, bent over the register drawer, counting bills. "Jenna," she said, eyebrows scrunching. "What are you doing back? Did you forget something?" "There's someone outside," I cut in, voice higher than I meant it to be. "He's blocking me in. Black sedan, just sitting there." Her face changed instantly, wary, sharp. She followed me without a word to the back office where the CCTV monitors flickered with grainy black and white feeds. We stared together at the backlot camera. The sedan was still there, idle, engine running. Then the driver's door opened. A tall man stepped out, hood up, wearing a gray sweatshirt. His movements were slow, deliberate. He held something in his hand. At first I thought it was a drink, the kind you'd sip while waiting for someone. But no. It was a phone. He lifted it and started taking pictures of my car. Click, click, click. I backed away from the screen, nauseous. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. Lena reached for the phone on the desk. "I'm calling the police." And right then, like he heard her say it, the man stopped. He turned, walked calmly back to the car, then suddenly floored it. The tires shrieked against the pavement as he reversed hard and peeled out of the lot, kicking up a spray of gravel behind him. By the time the cruiser showed up 15 minutes later, he was long gone. The officer took my statement, asked if I recognized him. I didn't even recognize the car. I told them about the voice on the intercom earlier, about the high beams, about the photos. They nodded, said they'd keep an eye out, but there were no plates on the car, not even temporary tags, nothing. Lena walked me out to my car and waited until I pulled away. I didn't go straight home. I drove in slow, paranoid circles around town first, checking my mirrors, watching every set of headlights, half expecting him to be tailing me. When I finally got home, I locked every door and, without even thinking, locked my bedroom door too. I hadn't done that since I was 12. You'd think that would have been the end of it. But it wasn't. 2 nights later, I worked again, and this time, he didn't go through the drive-thru. It was 11:12 p.m. Lena and Marcus were in the back freezer, counting inventory and arguing over shelf space. I was out front, wiping down the counter, humming softly to fill the silence. The front door dinged. I glanced up, expecting a food delivery or maybe someone asking to use the restroom. But it was him. A man in a gray hoodie, head down, slow steps. My whole body tensed. He didn't come to the counter. He didn't say anything at first, just stood by the drink machine like he was deciding something. Then, almost too softly to hear, he said, "You look good tonight." The rag slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a wet slap. It was the same voice, the voice from the headset. My mouth went dry. My lungs forgot how to breathe. "Lena!" I called out, louder than I meant to. "Can you come up here?" The man didn't react, didn't blink, just turned his head slightly to look at me. And in his eyes, God, there was something there, not just awareness. Recognition, like he knew me, like he'd studied me. I stepped back. "Sir, we're closed to dine in." He didn't answer. He just stared a moment longer, then turned, walked out the way he came, and disappeared into the night. Lena came hurrying out a moment later. I told her everything, voice shaking, hands cold. We locked the front doors after that, even though technically we weren't supposed to until midnight. After that shift, I stopped parking out front. I had my dad start dropping me off and picking me up. I told him just enough to justify the new arrangement, said some creep was messing with me at work, left out the worst parts. I didn't want him to panic, but the man wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, I got home from a closing shift. It was nearly 1 a.m. The porch light was on, bugs swarming around it. I stepped up to our screen door and stopped. Something was wedged there, a photo of my car, parked in the McDonald's lot. Underneath it, scribbled in shaky red ink, was one word: "Hi." My knees buckled. I screamed for my dad, who came running out in his slippers and robe. He saw the picture, his face going pale. We called the cops. Again, they filed a report. Again, they told us there wasn't much they could do without a plate or name or face. That was it for me. I stopped working nights, transferred to morning shifts, opened instead of closed. I never saw the man again, never heard the voice. But I still wonder, how did he know my name that first night? Why me? And what would have happened if I hadn't run? It's been years. I've moved cities, found a new job, built a different life. But sometimes, late at night, if I'm waiting in a drive-thru and the speaker crackles before anyone speaks, I freeze, just for a second, and I remember the voice that said, managers breathing down my neck. Just me, the machines, and the occasional drunk who stumbled in at 3 a.m., asking for a McFlurry with no spoon. I was 21, broke, and barely scraping by, working the overnight shift at a McDonald's in Pine Hollow, a quiet little town about 20 minutes outside the city. The store was wedged between a shuttered car wash and a field that turned to mud when it rained, sitting right off Highway 32. There was one lonely streetlight out front that flickered like a dying firefly, casting weird shadows on the cracked pavement. I'd only been working there 2 months when it happened. It wasn't my first graveyard shift, but it was the first time I ever felt afraid, truly afraid to be alone. I'd dropped out of community college after 2 semesters, not because I wasn't capable, just I didn't know what I wanted. I was drifting, trying to find something to anchor me. So I moved back in with my mom, picked up hours where I could, and when the night shift opened, after Jason and the guy before him bailed without warning, I grabbed it. No 2 weeks notice, no goodbyes, just poof. One Friday, The dude didn't show up and was never heard from again. Didn't think twice about it at the time. McDonald's turnover is ridiculous. People quit mid-shift, sometimes mid-sentence. But later, when things started to not make sense, I remembered something Jason said once when we were switching shifts. He looked worn out, pale, his uniform stinking of old coffee. "The night has teeth," he muttered. "You just don't see it till it bites." I laughed, thought he was being dramatic. I don't laugh about it anymore. It was a Friday night in early November, post-Halloween lull. No more costumes, no football games, no sugar high kids. Just the regulars, bored teens, truckers looking for caffeine, and the occasional guy who thought he was funnier than he actually was. I clocked in at 10:55 p.m., grabbed a Coke from the machine, and flipped open the manager's log. Everything was routine. Inventory checked out. Headset was clear. Security cams were all online. Riley, the girl on the shift before me, handed over the keys with a yawn. "You sure you don't mind being here alone?" she asked, tucking a loose blonde curl behind her ear. "Nah," I said, sipping my drink. "It's peaceful." She smiled. "Well, peace and fries to you," she said, doing a mock salute before heading out the back door. The first few hours passed without much fanfare. I scrubbed down the shake machine, restocked the sauces, watched dumb videos about missing hikers, creepy but weirdly relaxing. At some point I dozed off sitting against the back wall, just a short nap, head tilted against the warm tile. It happened sometimes. We didn't exactly get slammed at 1 a.m. Then, right around 2:47 a.m., I heard something. A sound. Light and chirpy. Like a whisper, but not quite. I blinked awake, disoriented. The restaurant was dead quiet except for the low hum of the freezer and the dull buzz from the flickering light outside. I looked around, heart thudding. Then it came again. "Hey, over here." I stiffened. The voice was close. Too close. Like it was just outside the drive-thru window. Instinctively, I walked over and hit the drive-thru button. "Hi, welcome to McDonald's," I said, my voice a little hoarse. "What can I get started for you tonight?" There was a pause. Then slowly a man's voice answered. Clear, steady, emotionless. "One Whopper, please." I blinked, caught off guard. Sir, this is McDonald's. We don't serve Whoppers." Silence. Then a laugh, low, thick, like it was bubbling up through water, wet and slow, like someone choking on the joke. I leaned in to check the drive-thru camera feed. It was pointed at the menu board. No car, just a man. Not just a man, a clown. But not like Ronald McDonald. This one wore faded, antique-looking clown clothes, grimy ruffles, dull red buttons, the white makeup cracked and peeling around his eyes. Black smudged paint formed exaggerated, drooping lids. But what hit me hardest was his mouth. No smile, no red paint, no fake. My palms were slick now, my heart hammering. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," I said, backing away from the mic, "or I'll call the police." No response. I glanced back at the monitor. He was gone, just gone. No footsteps, no shadow, no movement on the camera. I ran to the window, cracked it just enough to peek out, the cold air slapping my face. Nothing. Just that empty night, the highway silent in the distance, and the buzz of the broken streetlight flickering like it always did. I locked the doors and stayed huddled behind the front counter for the rest of my shift. Every creak of the fryer, every gust of wind outside made my skin crawl. I didn't sleep that morning. I just waited for the sun to rise like it was some kind of shield. When Brett, my manager, walked in at 5:30 a.m., rubbing sleep from his eyes and sipping his oversized coffee. I told him everything. The voice, the clown, the camera feed. He snorted. "Probably some meth head," he said, tossing his keys onto the prep table. "Or some TikTok weirdo pulling a prank. Don't let it get to you." But it had gotten to me. Deep. Something about the way that clown moved, the sound of his voice, like it was crawling up from the bottom of a well inside my own head. It hadn't been a dream. I heard him. I saw him. The footage had shown him standing there. That Friday changed things for me. I started dreading the nights. I asked Brett not to put me on Fridays anymore. "We're short," he said flatly, barely looking up from the schedule. "You're fine. Stop being dramatic." So I came in again the following Friday. Same time, same empty lobby, same pit gnawing at my stomach. This time I kept the lights brighter than usual, almost uncomfortably bright. I stayed closer to the front counter, away from the drive-thru. I even texted my friend June, who worked late at the gas station across the highway, asking her to check in with me every so often, just in case. She sent a thumbs up and a meme to lighten the mood. At 3:04 a.m., something slammed. Hard. A loud, sharp slap like a hand hitting glass. I froze. I checked the drive-thru camera. Nothing. Just the empty lot and the glowing menu board. But when I turned my head to the lobby window, my breath caught in my throat. He was there. Same clown. Same dirty ruffled collar. Same paint-cracked face. But this time, blood ran in thick lines from a wound on his head, soaking his painted skin, streaking down his cheek like melted wax. His forehead was split open, raw and pulsing. He stared at me through the glass, dead on, eyes fixed, hollow. His mouth opened slowly, like his jaw was unhinging. And then, with a voice like sandpaper dragged across linoleum, he whispered, just loud enough for me to hear through the glass, "If you don't make me a Big Mac, I'll make you into one." I scrambled backward, my hands searching blindly for my phone. My fingers were trembling so badly I couldn't unlock the screen. He didn't move. Just stood there watching me like I was already halfway wrapped in butcher paper. I screamed, not to scare him off, but because that was the only thing left in me. A raw animal sound. "Get out!" I shouted. "I'm calling the cops." And then, he twitched, his entire body jerking like he'd been hit with a jolt of electricity, and bolted, disappearing around the side of the building in a blur of fabric and blood. Seconds later, headlights lit up the drive-thru. A real customer. I nearly sobbed from the relief. I took their order with a shaky voice, trying to sound normal. "Hi, welcome to McDonald's," I said, forcing it out. "How can I help you?" When Brett came in to open, I told him everything again, more frantic this time. "You've got a hell of an imagination," he said with a chuckle. "Maybe lay off the horror podcasts." I didn't laugh. Couldn't. Because while he was busy brushing it off, I noticed something. A small fresh cut on his forehead, just under his hairline. A thin trickle of blood ran down, almost exactly where the clown had been bleeding. I quit the next week. I didn't sleep for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, those hollow eyes, not angry, not alive, just empty. Like whatever was behind them didn't belong to a person. I had one final shift before I could put in my notice. I brought pepper spray. June promised to check in on me every half hour. I felt like I was finally taking control. But nothing can prepare you for seeing yourself on a security feed when you know damn well you're in the office. At 2:41 a.m., the camera watching the lobby flickered. Static buzzed. Then the feed came back, and my heart stopped. I was on the screen, standing behind the register. But I wasn't there. I was in the office. I froze, breath caught in my throat. The version of me on the screen turned its head slowly toward the drive-thru, then lifted a hand and waved. I ran, sprinting from the office to the counter. Empty. No one there. I turned back to the feed, still waving, still smiling. Then came the whisper. curling in my ear like cold breath. I don't work alone anymore. Every light in the store flickered. The fryers all beeped in perfect sync. The drive-through headset, which I had taken off and left on the counter, clicked on by itself. "Order ready," it said. A beat. "Clown meat, extra fries." I dropped everything and ran. I didn't clock out. I didn't grab my bag. I ran barefoot across the parking lot, clutching the pepper spray like it was a crucifix, not stopping until I burst into the gas station and collapsed behind the counter. The next morning, Brett texted me. "You're lucky I don't write you up. You left the damn door unlocked." I didn't respond. I've never worked a night shift since, not at McDonald's, not anywhere. No one believes me, not June, not my mom. They all think it was stress or sleep deprivation, maybe both. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And last I checked, that McDonald's still only has one person on nights. But I've driven past a few times just to see. There are 2 people in the window now. One of them still wearing a clown suit. Back in 2019, right after I graduated high school, I landed a part-time night shift job at this dingy fast food joint called Benny's Burgers, a clear McDonald's knockoff, tucked into a crumbling strip mall in Greystone, Indiana. It wasn't glamorous, but I didn't have a lot of choices. My mom was bedridden, sick most days, and the bills kept piling up. I was juggling community college, utilities, and groceries. So when Benny's said they'd pay $11 an hour for overnights, I said yes. The place was open 24/7, but at night it was just me and Louise, the closing cook. He was older, maybe early 30s, quiet, smoked menthols behind the dumpster during breaks. Most nights passed in a kind of lonely haze, hardly any customers after 9 p.m. and delivery guys barely mumbled when picking up orders. Still, something about the building always set me on edge. Maybe it was the buzzing fluorescent light in the hall that flickered constantly, or how the walk-in freezer door would creak open on its own sometimes. You'd swear you heard someone walking around in there, always faint, always just out of sight. Locals whispered that the place was cursed. Supposedly, it used to be an insurance office back in the 80s where 3 employees, all within a month, jumped off the roof. People said something wrong had been left behind. Typical small-town folklore, I told myself. I didn't believe in that kind of thing until November 12th, 2024. That Tuesday night changed everything. It was slow that night, barely a whisper of activity. A lone customer came in around 10:15, ate in silence for about 20 minutes, and left without saying a word. 2 DoorDash pickups followed. That was it. Louise clocked out around 10:30, his girlfriend waiting outside with the engine running. He waved lazily on his way out. "You sure you're good?" he asked. "Yeah, I got it." "See you tomorrow," I said, wiping down the counter. Technically, I wasn't alone. My boyfriend, Jaden, often dropped by when I worked late. We'd sit in the corner booth after closing, pick at leftover fries, talk about rent or whatever weird stuff he'd seen on TikTok. That night, I sent him a text. "Come through. I'm Borov. Bring Reese's." He replied, "On my way. 15 min max." But by 11:15, there was still no sign of him. I checked my phone. No new messages. Weird. I glanced up at the old grainy monitors above the drive-through window. The cameras were crap, black and white with heavy static, but I could usually catch headlights pulling into the lot. Nothing. Then, camera 3 flickered and I saw a shape glide past the glass lobby doors. Tall, broad-shouldered, not quick, just fluid. I smiled, assuming it was Jaden trying to be sneaky. He did stuff like that, thought it was hilarious when he made me jump. I ducked behind the front counter, grinning, heart thumping with anticipation. The door chime rang out softly, the usual ding I'd heard 100 times before. But I whispered, poking my head up. The lobby was empty, no one at the counter. The glass doors were closed, untouched. Outside, the lot was dead, no cars, no movement. Even the usual hum of night had vanished. A weight settled in my chest. I stood up slowly, scanning every corner. "Jaden, if you're messing with me, quit it," I called out, half laughing, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. My arms prickled with cold. I peeked down the hallway toward the restrooms. Nothing, not even a door ajar. That's when I heard it. A loud crash outside, metal slamming against metal. I jumped so hard my knee banged the counter. It sounded like it came from the side alley where the dumpsters were. My mind raced. Please don't let it be Jaden. Please don't be hurt. I pushed through the emergency exit, cold air biting at my face. The alley was dim, lit only by the buzzing yellow light above the back door. One of the dumpster lids was flung open, the side bin tipped over completely. A steel trash can had a huge dent in it, like something had been dropped straight onto it. I stood frozen, heart hammering. There was no wind, no animals, no movement, just concrete, darkness, and that ringing silence. Then I heard it, clear and unmistakable. Maya. My name. I spun around, heart seizing in my chest. Jaden was sprinting toward me, eyes wide, chest heaving, pale as a ghost. He looked like he'd seen something that broke the world open. He stopped just short of me, breath ragged, grabbing my arms tight enough that it startled me. "Did you see that?" he asked, voice trembling. "See what?" Someone jumped from the roof, Maya. Right there." He pointed to the edge of the building above the alley. I swear to God I saw them hit the ground, right next to the trash. My eyes flicked to the dented can, then back up to the roofline. It was empty. Still. "There's no one there," I said quietly. "I was out here. No one landed. I would have seen or heard it." "I did see it," he said, his voice cracking. "I know I did." I didn't know how to answer. I kept thinking about the metallic crash, the crumpled bin, the timing. But I didn't want to feed whatever panic was crawling up his spine. "Not yet." "Let's just go inside," I said, reaching for his hand. He nodded but paused once more, eyes lingering on the rooftop before we turned and went in. I locked the doors behind us, then double-checked the drive-through window, the lobby, the front entrance. Everything was still. The place felt hushed, like it was holding its breath. "I thought Louise was working with you tonight," Jaden said, heading to the soda fountain and pouring himself a Sprite. "He left like an hour ago," I said, glancing toward the back. "Why?" Jaden's hand froze mid-reach. I thought I saw someone go into the kitchen when we came in. My stomach dropped. "What?" "I'm serious," he said. "Just now, tall, wearing black. Like a man." He walked through, clear as day. I stared at him, my skin turning to ice. "There's no one here," I whispered, already walking toward the kitchen, forcing my legs to move. Jaden followed close behind. We didn't speak. The silence was loud enough. When we reached the swinging door, it was moving. Just slightly. Not from us, from something else. That wasn't right. I pushed it open slowly. The kitchen was empty. "Maybe it's the draft," I offered, though the words sounded thin, even to me. Jaden didn't respond. Then the fryer roared to life. The sizzle of oil bubbling violently filled the room, steam rising like breath from a mouth. I flinched, heart leaping. What the hell? I ran to it, jabbing the control panel. I turned this off. Nothing responded. The buttons were dead. Unlit. Useless. The lights overhead flickered once, then again, and then. In the heartbeat of darkness between flashes, I saw him. A tall figure, perfectly still, framed in the doorway, watching. Then the lights returned, and he was gone. Jaden didn't wait. "We need to go. Now." I fumbled for the keys in my apron, hands shaking so badly they slipped through my fingers twice before he grabbed them and yanked the door open. We bolted into the night. We didn't stop running until we were in his car with the doors locked. My heart slammed against my ribs, and I couldn't look at him yet. I was too afraid of what I might see in his face. Instead, I looked back at the building, and there, framed in the upper left pane of the lobby window, stood a shadow, tall, motionless, a figure watching us. Its eyes glowed a dull, unnatural white, like tiny headlights in the dark. We didn't speak the whole ride back to my house. When we finally made it inside, Jaden refused to leave. I changed nothing, didn't even take off my shoes. I curled up on the couch with my pepper spray in one hand and my phone in the other, clutched to my chest like a lifeline. I didn't sleep. The next morning I called my manager and told him there'd been an equipment issue. Fryer freaked out. Lights went out. I didn't mention the figure. I asked for a few days off. He grunted and said fine, but I couldn't shake it. So I started digging. Turns out, before Benny's moved in, the Greystone Plaza sat empty for nearly 2 decades. In 1987, it had been the home of Midstate Benefits, an insurance firm. That year, 3 employees died by suicide, all jumping from the very roof Jaden pointed to. The company shut down within a year. Rumors in Old Town forums said the building had always felt off. Rolling blackouts, sudden cold spots, machines activating themselves. And then this one post stuck with me. It said the dead sometimes repeat their final moments over and over again, desperate for someone to see them. Jaden never came back to Benny's after that night. Not once. I asked to be moved to the day shift. They said yes. But sometimes, when I close early or pass by the old plaza on my way home, I can't help but look through those glass windows, and I swear in the far back booth, the one Jaden and I used to sit in, I sometimes see a shape, sitting, watching, and the eyes are always glowing white. I used to think the worst part about working night shifts at a fast food joint was the smell. Not just the fryer grease, though that alone was bad, but this suffocating stew of burnt coffee, sour mop water, wilted pickles, and congealed fryer oil. It clung to everything. My clothes, my hair, my skin. Even after a hot shower, I'd crawl into bed and still feel like I'd been marinated in the disappointment of cheap labor and cold fries. The smell even crept into my dreams. But now, I miss it. I'd take that foul stench 100 times over what happened on my last shift at the Burger Barn in Ridge Park, a quiet little town just outside Cincinnati that people usually forgot existed. It wasn't exactly a high-traffic location, but we stayed open 24/7, which meant someone had to work the graveyard hours, midnight to 6 a.m., when the world outside slowed down, twisted a little, and got strange. And I mean genuinely, hair on the back of your neck, gut-clenching strange. Before I get into the night that broke me, the one that made me grab my things, walk out, and never look back, you need to understand how I ended up there in the first place. I started at Burger Barn straight out of high school. It wasn't a dream job, but my mom had just been laid off from the nursing home and money was getting tighter than usual. I didn't want to be another bill she couldn't pay, so I took the first job I could find, thinking it'd be temporary. Like a lot of temporary things, it stuck. 2 years later, I was running the night shift. That meant handling the drive-thru, managing inventory, making the food, half the time cleaning and supervising 2 or 3 underpaid kids, often all at once. $13 an hour, no benefits, no glory, just aching feet and a constantly vibrating phone from the scheduling app. Now, being a woman alone during those hours came with its own brand of exhaustion. Drunk guys slurring sweet nothings, angry men with control issues screaming about missing ketchup, the occasional unhinged guy demanding a triple-decker chicken sandwich with no chicken, and then staring like I'd offended him personally. I learned early to move quick, speak less, and keep my eyes on the bag, not the person. Smile just enough to not start a fight, but never enough to be read the wrong way. But none of them, not the sloppy flirts, not the screamers, ever made my stomach twist the way Trevor Mance did. He started showing up around 12:30 a.m. like it was scheduled into his calendar. Always alone, always in the same beat-up white Chevy Malibu that screeched when it made the turn into the lot. His orders were never normal. One time he asked for 10 burgers without the buns. Another time just a single medium Sprite and no food. The order didn't matter. I wasn't the one handing him fries, I was the main course every night. "You're too pretty to work in a place like this," he'd say, leaning close to the window like he belonged there. "Let me take you out. You don't belong behind this glass." The first night I laughed awkwardly and said thanks. The second night I gave him one-word answers. By the third I told him straight up to stop. I said I wasn't interested. Schoolers with acne and college kids with burnout. But for a stretch there, it was mostly me, Marcus, and Shay. Shay was sweet 16 and a little too trusting for her own good, always trying to make people smile, even the ones who didn't deserve it. Marcus was 19, wiry, twitchy, constantly fidgeting like the air was too tight around him. He tugged at the neck of his uniform shirt like it was suffocating him. They were kids, basically. Nice ones. But they weren't exactly security. The night things broke, it had already been hell. The soda machine was down, fryer oil scorched everything it touched, and Connie, our general manager and queen of bad decisions, forgot to schedule a third closer. Shay shouldn't even have been there. She had school in the morning. But Connie, who strutted in 4-inch heels and drove a Lexus that screamed debt, didn't care. She told her to tough it out. It was a little after 11 p.m. when I dragged a heavy trash bag out to the dumpster behind the building. My arms were sore, my back ached, and I was already mentally composing the resignation email I'd never send. Then I heard it, that familiar squeak of tires turning into the lot. Trevor. I actually groaned out loud. Seriously? Not tonight. I stomped back inside, slipped on my headset, and caught his voice crackling through the speaker. "Just a small fry," he said casually, "and a minute to talk to that sweet voice I keep hearing." I said nothing. Just tapped the order into the system, told him to pull up, and braced myself. He pulled up. When I opened the drive-through window, he leaned in, too far, his elbows pressed onto the sill like he was settling in for a conversation. "You look tired, girl," he said, eyes moving over me like I was a menu item. "You need someone to take care of you." I didn't even try to smile. "Here's your food. Have a good night." "Aw, don't be like that," he said, lingering. I slid the window shut. Hard. Rude? Maybe. But I didn't care. From the back, Marcus caught my eye. He mouthed, "You good?" I gave him a stiff nod. But the truth, I wasn't. Not even close. A few minutes passed. I heard the Malibu's engine fade down the road and figured that was the end of it. Another uncomfortable drive-through encounter I could shake off. But it wasn't. I was headed to grab a box of drink lids from the storage closet near the back when something darted past the side window. Just a blur, fast and low. My first thought was raccoon. We got them sometimes scavenging for fries. Then the front door dinged. I froze. That door shouldn't have made a sound. We locked the lobby every night at 8 p.m. No exceptions. "Marcus?" I hissed, backing into the kitchen. He looked up from wiping down the prep table, frowning. "What? Did you lock the front?" I thought Shay did. Shay blinked wide-eyed. Connie told me not to touch the keys. My blood ran cold. I was already halfway to the front counter when I saw him. Trevor, but not outside. He was inside, just past the soda fountain, standing under the buzzing fluorescent lights like he belonged there. He held a small paper bag, fries, and his other hand was jammed deep into the pocket of his hoodie. "You weren't very nice to me," he said, his voice so low it felt more like a growl. My stomach turned to stone. I could taste metal in my mouth. "Sir," I said, trying to sound firm, "you need to leave. Right now." "No," he replied calmly, like he was explaining something obvious. "I need you to apologize." I glanced toward the back. No customers, no help, just us. "Trevor, you can't be in here." He took a slow step forward. "You humiliated me," he said, eyes locked onto mine. "I came here every night to see you. I was good to you. He took another step. That's when his voice changed, quiet but sharp. "I got a gun in my pocket," he said. "You scream. You call the cops. This gets ugly." Behind me, I heard Shay gasp. Marcus stood completely still, like someone had cut his strings. My legs trembled. I tried to keep my breathing steady, to keep my voice calm. "Okay," I said slowly. "Hands up. Let's not do anything stupid. We can just talk. That's all." We inched backward toward the kitchen, Trevor following like a shadow, smooth, deliberate. The buzz of the light suddenly felt like a siren in my ears. Every second dragged out, suspended in panic. I tried everything. I begged. I reasoned. I promised I wouldn't tell anyone if he just walked away. I told him I understood he was hurt, that I hadn't meant to upset him. But he wouldn't move. He kept demanding I apologize. Over and over. That I admit I'd treated him cruelly. That I tell him he deserved better. It went on and on. 15 minutes that felt like being stuck underwater. Then something changed. His expression darkened. His eyes lost their focus, like whatever filter of sanity he had left just broke. He stepped closer, hand twitching inside the hoodie pocket, clenching hard. Panic rose like bile, and I snapped. "You're a loser," I said, my voice cracking. "A pathetic, creepy lowlife who's never going to get a girl, because no one wants to be near you. You're a freak." I hadn't planned it. The words came out of nowhere, straight from the furnace of terror and rage inside me. And I knew. The second they left my mouth, I'd made it worse. His face twisted. He snarled, actually snarled, and lunged forward. I turned and bolted through the kitchen door, slamming the lock button as it swung shut behind me. I heard the handle rattle. Marcus grabbed Shay's arm and yanked her behind the fryers. I didn't stop. I snatched the keys off the hook by the prep sink and sprinted toward the narrow hallway that connected our restaurant to the Quick Mart next door. The shared door was just ahead. Quick Mart, thank God. Their night clerk that shift was Deshaun, a former bouncer built like a linebacker working between gigs. I burst through the door gasping. He didn't need an explanation. One look at my face and he moved, fast. Locked up the front, pulled the security gate down, got us behind the register counter. While he distracted Trevor, who was now banging on the connecting door shouting, I slipped out the emergency exit that led to the dumpster alley out back. My car was parked way in the corner under the one light that never worked. The shadows stretched out long, hiding everything. I ran. I know I should have stayed with them, should have waited for the police, but everything in me screamed, "Go now, run." So I did. I dove into my car, hands shaking, engine roaring to life. I didn't look back, just drove. Fast. Later, the police told us Trevor fled before they arrived, but they found him 3 months later in Toledo, holed up in an abandoned house. Turned out he had a record, stalking harassment, a sealed juvie case nobody would talk about. I never went back to that burger barn. Didn't even pick up my last paycheck. Connie mailed it to me with a passive-aggressive note about abandoning my team in a crisis. I threw it away without opening the envelope. I didn't care. Locals just called it the Edge, and yeah, it fit. The place sat at the outskirts of a town that looked like it had stopped trying years ago. Streetlights flickered out before you hit the gas station, and the woods grew so close to the lot, they felt like they were pressing in, watching. Not metaphorically, really watching. The only reason I kept taking the night shifts was that extra $1 an hour. Between student loan bills and car insurance, I didn't have the luxury of options. I'm Emily Hart, 23. Still crashing at my dad's house after I dropped out of college halfway through the pandemic. McDonald's wasn't just a job anymore, it was a strange kind of second home. The grill, the mop, the stink of fryer grease that clung to your hoodie no matter how many times you washed it. It all became weirdly comforting, familiar, until that night. And I remember that night with razor clarity because everything before it was just so ordinary, bland. It was a Thursday in late October, cold, wet, with fog rolling in so thick it hugged the ground like a living thing. The parking lot was buried under a quilt of red and brown leaves, and the only real sounds were the occasional semi out on Highway 48 and the fridge compressor's steady hum. I was on lobby cleanup. Manny, this tall, wiry guy with glasses thicker than my wrist and a taste for death metal, was manning the fryer. We weren't friends exactly, but we got each other. Shift partners with a silent agreement. Stay in your lane, survive the night. After midnight, we barely saw anyone. A couple of truckers grabbing coffee, sometimes local teens showing up high after bowling, craving fries. It was 12:45 a.m. when the weirdness started. I was wiping tables, earbuds, and blasting some old Paramore. Let the flames begin, I think, when I caught a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. Something near the tree line beyond the drive-thru. I paused, pulled one AirPod out, and glanced over. Just trees, swaying lazily in the breeze, but something felt wrong. Not paranoid wrong, more like that stomach drop feeling when someone's staring at you and you don't know from where. That kind of dread. I went back to cleaning, but I kept looking out the corner of my eye. Maybe 5 minutes passed. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, steady, not random, not like a branch or a squirrel. My heart skipped. I turned, half expecting Manny trying to screw with me. But the kitchen was still alive with the chaotic orchestra of hissing oil and beeping timers. He was still back there. The sound had come from the window behind me, one that faced the woods. I turned slowly and looked, just my reflection in the glass staring back wide-eyed. Behind it, only shadows and the faint orange wash from the parking lot lights bleeding into the trees. Still, I stepped closer, squinting, feeling that sick sort of curiosity that pushes past instinct. That's when I saw it. A shape. Just for a heartbeat. No features, no eyes, nothing to focus on. Just a figure, low to the ground, hunched near the base of a pine facing the building. It didn't move, but I felt it watching. And though I couldn't see its eyes, I knew it was looking right at me. My chest locked up. I stumbled back the cleaning rag, slapping onto the tile floor with a wet smack. I turned and ran, shoes squeaking, as I bolted into the kitchen. Manny. I called louder than I meant to. My voice cracked. There's someone out there, in the woods. He looked up from the fryer, blinking like I'd pulled him out of a trance. Someone? Like a person? Yes, not an animal, human, just watching. He let out a breath, wiped his hands on his apron, and followed me back out. I pointed past the drive-thru to where the trees crouched thick and dark. Nothing. Just woods. Dense, silent, unmoving. You sure you're not just overtired? He asked, adjusting his glasses. Last week you swore a deer was watching you. Turned out it was a trash bag caught on a fence. I know what I saw, I snapped, and instantly regretted the tremor in my voice. It made me sound crazy. Manny gave me that careful, polite look, the one people use when they don't believe you but don't want to make a scene. Why don't you take a break, he said. Go sit down. I'll handle the rest. So I sat. In the furthest booth from the windows. I stared at the floor, my fists tight on my apron. But relaxing? No. My heart still wouldn't slow down. Because whatever was out there, it had seen me, and I had the sickening feeling it hadn't gone anywhere. Every second felt like an hour. I kept darting glances at the windows, heart-thudding eyes straining to catch even a flicker of movement. But the figure never reappeared. Still, the feeling didn't leave. That tight, crawling sensation under my skin, like I was being studied from far off. By 2:55 a.m., we'd finally checked off the last of the closing list. Dishes scrubbed, floors gleaming, registers balanced, everything done, everything normal, but I didn't feel normal. Manny grabbed his hoodie from the break room, shivering a little as he pulled it over his head. Want me to walk you out? He asked, rubbing his arms. It's freezing out there. I hesitated a moment longer than I meant to. Yeah, I said. Sure. Thanks. The lot was empty except for our 2 cars. Mine, because of course, was parked closer to the tree line. The overhead sodium lights buzzed and flickered, casting long, spindly shadows that twitched with the wind like they were alive. Leaves skittered across the asphalt. I kept my keys clenched tight in my fist. We were halfway to my car when Manny stopped dead in his tracks. "Do you see that?" he whispered. I turned, and all the warmth drained from my body. At the edge of the woods, just barely visible in the murky light, stood the figure, taller than I remembered, completely still, just watching. "Oh my God," I breathed. The figure raised one hand, slow, deliberate. It waved. Manny instinctively stepped forward. "Hey," he called out, uncertain but concerned. "You okay, dude?" "Manny, don't," I hissed, grabbing his sleeve and yanking him back. The figure didn't move at first, then it took a single step backward, into the trees, and vanished. But something else moved. Something above us. Something on the roof. I didn't wait. I dove into my car, yanking the door shut with a slam that echoed. Manny scrambled with his keys, fumbling to unlock his door when we both heard it. Thump. Something heavy hit the roof of my car. The metal groaned. The whole frame rocked beneath the weight. "Manny!" I screamed. He turned eyes wide with horror, completely frozen. "Get in!" I yelled, jabbing at the ignition with shaking hands. On the roof, something shifted. The car dipped again, heavier this time, like it was crawling, dragging itself forward. I could hear the scrape of something rough against the paint. "Go!" Manny shouted. I didn't look. I couldn't. I slammed the gas tires, screaming against the pavement as I tore out of the lot. I didn't slow down. Not for red lights, not for turns. Not until we were 10 miles out of town, parked beneath the glowing safety of an all-night gas station. We didn't talk for a long time. Just sat there, doors locked, windows rolled up, hands trembling. Eventually, Manny broke the silence. Of those everyday things you do so often your brain stops registering it. After school, same time, same steps. It was second nature. Back in high school, once that final bell rang at 2:18, me and my crew, Rafi, Tanner, Braden, Elijah, had one destination, the McDonald's on Crestview Avenue. Now, it wasn't a great McDonald's. Honestly, it was probably the worst in town, tucked off a cracked side road beside a rusted-out gas station that hadn't pumped a drop in years. The place looked like it had been forgotten. The windows always had this greasy sheen, like no one had ever cleaned them right, and the paint along the roofline was curling and flaking like old skin. But that was our spot. I'm Isaac, by the way. And back then, the five of us practically lived for that daily post-school pilgrimage. We'd make it halfway there in 10 minutes, earbuds in, backpacks hanging low, talking loud about nothing in particular. Teachers we hated, stupid memes, who was hooking up with who, the usual high school noise. The staff at that McDonald's knew us. Not by name, but definitely by volume. We weren't exactly respectful and we weren't exactly quiet, but we weren't delinquents either. Just loud, stoned teenagers with nowhere better to be. We didn't always order food. Sometimes we just loitered, claiming the same cracked vinyl corner booth like it was reserved. We'd mess with the soda machine, sneak in chips from the gas station across town, and laugh until one of us snorted. That was the routine. But that day was different. It was a Thursday in early spring, that weird in-between weather where the sun starts to feel warm again, but you still need a hoodie. The kind of day that tricks you into thinking winter's over until the wind hits. School had been whatever, boring, predictable, but I remember one detail clear as glass. I had money. $10. That might not sound like much, but for me, back then, it was gold. I'd been thinking about a McFlurry and fries since second period, like obsessively. Crushed Oreos, soft serve swirl. It was locked in. Tanner had brought weed, obviously. Rafi was carrying his pathetic little vape pen, the one he thought was invisible, even though it smelled like fruity chemicals and burnt toast. Elijah was already stoned from lunch. Me and Braden were the half participants. I always pretended to be cool with it, like it didn't mess with me. But truth, I hated how jumpy it made me. Still, I didn't want to be the sober loser, so I took a couple hits, just enough to feel floaty. By the time we got there, we were in that half-buzzed, half-starving state where everything feels hilarious and every fry looks like salvation. We stumbled through the doors, giggling over some dumb joke Tanner had made, and that's when we saw him. The lobby was nearly empty, which was already strange. That McDonald's usually had at least a few other kids or random old people nursing coffees, but that day just one guy sat near the front window, alone, clutching a black coffee cup with both hands like it was the only warm thing in his life. He looked off. Not homeless, but not far from it either. Life had definitely roughed him up. His hair was long and stringy, the color of dirty mop water. His skin had that pale, blotchy tone like he hadn't seen the sun in weeks, and the area around his nose was raw and red, like from too many cold days or too much booze. He looked like someone who used to fight back and then stopped bothering. We didn't think much at first. And some cookies. Braden didn't buy anything, just slid into the booth and started swiping fries from my tray like it was tradition. About 10 minutes passed. We were back to our normal chaos. Rafi vaping under the table like a secret agent, all of us throwing half-funny insults at each other, loud enough to annoy anyone within 50 feet. Then the guy stood up. He walked toward us. Real slow, like he wasn't sure whether he should or not, but he did. "Y'all boys got a lot of energy," he said. His voice was low and cracked, like gravel in a blender, the kind of voice you only get after smoking for 30 years and yelling at too many people who never listened. We stopped. Not all the way, but the volume dropped. Enough that we were suddenly aware of how loud we'd been. Tanner smirked. "It's McDonald's, man. Sacred ground." The man didn't smile. His eyes narrowed instead. "You think I'm funny?" he asked. Tanner blinked, his grin fading just a touch. No, that's not." I cut in, trying to smooth it over. "We're just hanging out after school. Didn't mean to disrespect or anything." He looked at me then. Really looked. And for a second, I swear time slowed. His eyes were this dull, cloudy color. Brown, maybe? But lifeless. Not wild like some druggie on a rampage. Just hollow. Like looking down a well with no bottom. Like he had nothing left behind them. "I used to work here," he muttered. There was a strange pride in it. Or maybe just something broken that wanted to sound proud and couldn't quite get there. None of us said anything. The silence dragged just long enough to feel wrong. "Yeah?" Elijah asked, trying to keep his tone light, polite. "Cool. What did you do here?" The man's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite a frown. "Line cook, janitor, dishwasher," he said, ticking them off with his fingers. "I ran the back. I kept this place clean." His voice had this edge to it, like metal being bent just a little too far. Not loud, but strained. Trembling, like a kettle a few seconds before it starts to scream. "Why'd you leave?" Rafi asked, and I wanted to kick him under the table. It was a dumb question, and the second it was out of his mouth, I could feel the tension spike. The man leaned in, both hands planted on the edge of our table, his shoulders hunching like he was getting ready to spring. "I didn't leave," he said. "That did it." The mood cracked. What had felt like just some awkward conversation with a weird old guy suddenly had an undercurrent, something sharper, something that prickled the back of my neck. I felt it in the air, and looking around, I knew the others did too. Tanner tried to steer it back, casual. You just hang out here now?" "I still work here," the man snapped. His voice came fast, brittle. Then, as if catching himself, he forced this grin. It wasn't comforting. It looked like his face didn't quite remember how to smile properly. "They just don't pay me," he added. Braden glanced at me sideways. The look we all knew. "Time to go?" The man, who we'd later find out was named Terry, straightened up slowly and gave us all a look that made my stomach tighten. It wasn't threatening exactly, but it wasn't passive either. It was a memorizing stare, like he was etching our faces into something he planned to revisit. Then, without another word, he turned and walked toward the counter. He sat down on one of the stools like he belonged there, like it was still his shift and he was just taking a break. That's when Kevin, the guy we knew from the Fryer station, looked over at us. Just a quick glance, but his expression said everything, half warning, half apology. Like, yeah, we know. And yeah, we're stuck with him too. That's when I realized this wasn't new. Terry had done this before, probably many times. We didn't make a scene, just wrapped things up fast. 5 minutes later, we were filing out the door, trying not to act like we were rushing. Terry didn't move, didn't speak. He just watched us leave, eyes locked, never blinking, like a statue with a pulse. None of us spoke until we were at least a block away. Then it hit all at once. Yo, what the actual hell was that? Dude was seriously tripping, Tanner muttered. I thought he was gonna lose it, Elijah said. No lie, I was like 2 seconds from grabbing a tray as a weapon. Same, Braden added. I was looking at the exits. That night I told my mom everything, word for word. She was furious, not at me, but at the situation. She didn't say much at first, just got this tight look on her face and went quiet. The next morning she called the McDonald's herself, asked to speak with a manager. Turns out Terry was real. Had worked there 5 years back. Fired after a string of incidents, the worst being when he allegedly tried to stab a customer in the parking lot, something about a wrong order, and a total meltdown. He'd been diagnosed with mental health issues, sent to a facility for evaluation, released eventually, but he never really left. He would just show up, sit in the lobby like a regular. Sometimes he'd sneak behind the counter. Cops had been called more than once, but unless he threatened someone outright, there wasn't much they could legally do. The workers knew, management knew, but they couldn't keep him out unless he crossed some invisible line. After that, we stopped going. That McDonald's wasn't fun anymore. It didn't feel like ours. We started heading to the Taco Bell by the skate park, or just walking around the neighborhoods until someone's mom got home. Didn't matter. We just needed a new routine, one that didn't come with a guy staring through you like he could see the color of your fear. I know this story doesn't end with blood on the floor or some demon crawling out of a fryer, but not all fear needs ghosts or gore. Sometimes fear is a quiet thing. A stare held a second too long. A voice that shakes when it shouldn't. A sentence like "I didn't leave" said just a little too proudly. Real fear is looking into someone's eyes and realizing they're unmoored from the world the rest of us live in, that you're walking on a tightrope next to them and one wrong laugh, one wrong word, could tilt the whole balance. Terry never touched us, never raised his voice, but he didn't need to. The threat was there, hanging in the room like grease smoke you can't quite wash out of your clothes. I still think about him sometimes, not often, not in nightmares. But every once in a while, when I pass that McDonald's on Crestview, I'll glance at the window, just in case. Mental illness is real. I have sympathy, I do. But sympathy doesn't mean ignoring red flags or pretending danger doesn't exist. Some people need more help than the world is willing to give. And they definitely don't need to be haunting fast food lobbies. I hope Terry found help. I truly do. But I'm just as thankful we got out of there that day. We weren't saints. Just dumb, loud kids who pushed our luck and came too close to something we didn't understand. Something that didn't want to be understood. Sometimes that's all it takes. One wrong laugh, one wrong word, one man behind the counter. I never thought a night shift at McDonald's, especially one tucked on the edge of a sleepy town, would shatter the sense of safety I'd always felt in my own home. Before that job, life was busy but uncomplicated. I lived in a quiet townhouse complex, nestled in a small suburb of Midland. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the kind of place where people still waved at each other and left porch lights on for neighbors. Our street curved gently through rows of townhouses, the sidewalks covered year-round in fallen leaves from towering maples and oaks. It gave the area a cozy charm, even if some of the homes looked a little tired. My townhouse shared a living room wall with my neighbors. I didn't know him well, just a guy in his 30s who kept to himself, but I could always hear faint sounds of his TV or footsteps during the day. Normal neighbor stuff, nothing out of the ordinary. Sarah, 29, and a single mom to Lily, my smart, stubborn, and impossibly energetic 5-year-old. Taking the night shift at McDonald's was never the plan, but it paid better than the alternatives and let me be there for Lily during the day. Still, it was hard. Exhausting, really. Working until 11 p.m., coming home, trying to wind down, and waking up at 6 a.m. to pack lunches and do hair bows. The week before everything happened, Lisa, one of my coworkers, brought up something on break that stuck with me. We were huddled outside behind the dumpsters, shivering over bad coffee. She said she kept her car keys on her nightstand at night, in case anything ever happens, you know? She said, exhaling a plume of breath into the cold air. You hit the panic button, makes a hell of a noise. Enough to scare someone off. I laughed at the time, maybe too quickly. What, you expecting a break-in? Lisa gave a half smile. You never know. It wasn't that I thought nothing bad could happen. I just didn't think it would happen to me. Our neighborhood wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the kind you saw on the news either. Still, something about her words lingered. That night, without thinking much about it, I tossed my keys on the nightstand instead of dumping them in my purse like usual. It was October, one of those chilly nights where the cold seeps into your bones even before you take off your coat. I got home around 11:30, the air sharp with frost, and Lily was already drowsy on the couch waiting for me. I carried her upstairs, still half asleep, and tucked her into bed with a kiss on her forehead. Wed just read a story about a clever little fox that outsmarted a hunter, her new favorite. She clutched the book to her chest as she drifted off. I changed into pajamas and curled up in my bed with a paperback I'd read a dozen times already. The heater clicked on with a low hum, filling the room with a soft warmth. It felt peaceful, normal. Then I heard it. A loud, sharp crack, like metal hitting pavement, cut through the quiet. I froze, the book slipping from my hands. For a moment, I wondered if I'd imagined it. Then I stood and crept toward the window, holding my breath as I nudged the curtain back with a finger. The street looked the same as always, empty. The orange glow from the streetlights spilled across the cracked pavement. The trees cast long, swaying shadows, their branches twitching in the wind. Nothing moved. No cars, no people, just stillness. I told myself it was probably a trash can blown over or someone slamming their car door. This neighborhood always had strange little sounds late at night. Wood settling, wind whistling through the cracks. I shook it off. I switched off the bedroom light, set the book aside, and slid under the covers. My keys stayed on the nightstand, just in case. About 45 minutes later, I felt it before I heard it. A tremor, like something huge had slammed against the side of the house. The walls vibrated, followed by a bang so loud it seemed to He tackled me, knocked me down, hand over my mouth before I could scream, said if I made another noise, they'd shoot me right there. I didn't realize I was gripping my cup so tightly until I felt the paper crumpling. I was tied up for hours, he continued, voice barely above a whisper, hands behind my back, face down on the carpet. I thought I was gonna die. My entire body went still. I had been lying in my bed, just on the other side of that wall, reading, breathing, waiting, hearing something I didn't understand, and doing nothing. I heard you, he added quietly. You were downstairs, moving around. They waited, I think, until your lights went out. My breath caught in my throat. Oh my God, Ben. I'm so sorry. He looked at me, really looked, for the first time. His face softened. Hey, don't do that. Don't blame yourself. Honestly, I'm just glad you and Lily were safe. But I couldn't shake it. That heavy guilt sat in my chest like a stone. I kept thinking, what if they'd chosen my door instead? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake in bed with my keys clutched in one hand, phone in the other. At 3 in the morning, I ordered a taser and pepper spray online. And for the first time, I seriously considered getting a gun. I didn't go through with it, but the thought still lingers in the back of my mind, even now. The weeks that followed dragged like a slow ache. The police had no suspects, no security footage worth anything, just tire tracks and a few shoe prints in the dirt. The men who broke into Ben's house were still out there. My routines changed. I walked faster, checked locks twice. I kept the porch light on even during the day. Every creak of the house at night made my heart skip a beat. When Lily fell asleep, I kept the monitor up loud and my phone plugged in and fully charged on my pillow. I tried to get back to normal, tried to convince myself the danger had passed. I took Lily to the park, caught up with friends, even went back to working late shifts at McDonald's. But something in me had shifted. I could feel it in the way I watched people more carefully, in the way I memorized exits, in how I always kept my back to a wall now. Ben and I kept in touch, texting every few days. He wasn't the same either. Quieter. Worn. Sometimes we'd sit on our respective patios at night and wave, saying nothing. There was a shared weight now between us. Something unspoken. The police never found the men who did it. Sometimes I still wonder if they'll come back. If they even knew how close they'd come to another door. Another life. Then, about a month after the break-in, I woke up suddenly around 2 a.m. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that felt wrong. I sat up, heart racing, and instinctively reached for my keys on the nightstand. My phone screen lit up just as my hand touched the metal. A text from Ben. Just wanted to say thanks for being brave even when you didn't think you were. I stared at it for a long time, blinking back tears. Then I typed, I'm just glad we're both okay. And I meant it. That night I realized something I hadn't been able to put into words before. Safety doesn't mean never being scared. It means feeling fear and still standing up to it. It means choosing to protect the people you love, even when your voice shakes and your hands won't stop trembling. I still keep my keys by the bed. I bought a small can of pepper spray and started taking self-defense classes at the Eric lost his job at the Greystone Steel Yard. Everything unraveled fast. One week we were just about staying afloat, late on rent, scraping by, but getting through it. Then came the pink slip, and everything collapsed like wet cardboard. Bills went unpaid, groceries got scarce, and the fridge stayed mostly empty. Eric tried. God, he tried. Temp gigs, hauling scrap, even donating plasma just to buy gas. but nothing stuck. So, I picked up more hours at the McDonald's off Highway 74. Graveyard shift, midnight to 8 a.m. I was 34, running on vending machine caffeine and whatever fries I could sneak without getting written up. Things got worse when Carmen's school dropped its aftercare program. She was 7 then, a first grader with cartoon-sized glasses and an obsession with animal documentaries. I couldn't afford a sitter, not even a teenager from the complex. So I started bringing her with me. I made her a nest in the back office, stacked aprons for a mattress, her old fleece cat blanket, and her tablet if I could find an outlet to charge it. My manager, Terry, wasn't thrilled, but he had his own mess to deal with. As long as she was quiet and didn't get in the way, he looked the other way. Carmen never complained. She liked being up late, watching the world move in slow motion. But mostly, she loved Kevin. Kevin was Ronald McDonald. The Ronald. Full clown getup, white face paint, red wig, yellow jumpsuit. He showed up every Thursday and Friday around 6, stayed through the dinner rush, handing out balloons and high fives. It was some regional PR stunt, something about making the restaurant feel more family-oriented. To the kids, Kevin was magic. But me? I never liked him. Not for any obvious reason at first. He was polite, maybe too polite, always smiling, always asking about Carmen. He'd dig through the lost and found and hand her little treasures, plastic rings, sparkly stickers, Happy Meal toys. He spoke in that soft, buttery voice all mascots seem to master. Sometimes he'd let her sit on his lap, telling her stories that made her giggle. But his eyes, those pale, almost glassy blue eyes, they barely blinked. And that smile, too wide, like it hurt to hold it in place. The others thought I was overreacting. "Come on, Mel," they'd say. "It's just some dude in makeup. Don't be weird." But I wasn't imagining it. I saw the way his hand would linger a moment too long when she hugged him, the way he always seemed to be watching when I turned away. I told Carmen to keep her distance. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes and whispered, "His nice, Mama." He tells funny jokes. He said I remind him of his little sister. "He doesn't have a little sister," I snapped. Too harsh. She flinched. I closed my eyes, took a breath, then rubbed my forehead. "I'm sorry, baby. I just want you to be careful, okay?" That Friday started like any other. The dinner rush slammed us right at 6:15. Screaming toddlers, greasy trays, Terry yelling about missing nuggets. I was on register. Carmen was coloring near the play area, Kevin beside her, twisting balloons into dogs or swords or whatever the kids asked for. Every few minutes I glanced over. She looked happy, safe. I turned to hand a customer their change, 2 seconds, tops, and when I looked back, she was gone. So was Kevin. I didn't even think. My chest locked up, vision narrowed. I shoved past the counter and ran to the back. My breath caught in my throat. The alley door was ajar. I ran. The alley behind the store was dim and narrow, dumpsters crowding the walls, a flickering security light overhead, buzzing like a dying fly. "Carmen!" I shouted. My voice came out cracked and distant. "Carmen!" A soft sob answered me. Then, a voice. "It's okay, sweetie. Don't cry. You're fine. Mommy just gets scared too easily. We don't have to tell her." Kevin's voice. Too calm. Too smooth. I turned the corner by the dumpster and saw them. Carmen was sitting on his lap, trembling, her dress soaked with something dark. Her face was streaked with tears. Kevin's gloves were smeared in red. His eyes flicked up to mine. "It's not what it—" I didn't let him finish. Something primal took over. I grabbed the metal lid from the dumpster, didn't think, didn't even feel it in my hands, just swung. It hit his shoulder with a sick clang and he let out a strangled cry, stumbling back. Carmen screamed, "Mama, stop!" I dropped the lid and pulled her into my arms. She was shaking, my hands racing across her small body, checking for wounds. "Did he hurt you?" I whispered. "Carmen, baby, tell me. Right now." She sobbed harder, her voice hitching. Mama, no. No. He helped me. I tried to pet it. I froze. What? The raccoon. I didn't see it was hurt. It bit me, and then it started going crazy, and Kevin hit it. I blinked hard, my vision blurry with tears and adrenaline. Behind the dumpster, just at the edge of the light, was a small, mangled shape. A raccoon, its fur matted, its body twisted unnaturally. Its mouth gaped open in a frozen snarl. A bent metal pole lay nearby, stained dark. Kevin rose slowly from the shadows, his Ronald suit streaked with crimson, one glove still wet with blood. I heard her scream, he said softly, voice almost too calm. It was attacking her. I didn't think. I grabbed the pole. Carmen buried her face in my chest, shaking so hard I could barely keep hold of her. My mind was spinning, the blood, the terror, the absolute certainty I'd had. I had assumed the worst. I'd let panic, fear, raw, blinding fear, take the wheel. I didn't know, I whispered. My knees buckled and I sank down to the cold pavement, cradling Carmen in my lap. Kevin looked down at us, that wide, strained smile flickering at the edges. It's okay, he said gently. I know how I look. People see me and they assume things. I'm sorry, I said, my voice breaking. I thought you... I was scared. I'm so sorry. You were scared for your daughter, he said, pulling a napkin from his pocket and wiping his hand with slow, careful movements. Anyone would have done the same. Terry came out a minute later, one of the cooks trailing behind him. They froze at the scene. Blood, the raccoon, Kevin's slumped posture, Carmen's tear-streaked face. It took time to explain, even longer for the terror to let go of my chest. Eric met us at urgent care. Carmen needed 3 stitches on her arm and a tetanus shot. I held her the whole time while she whimpered and flinched and squeezed my fingers white. That night, once we were back in the car, the car, not the apartment, I couldn't sleep. That part I hadn't said. We hadn't been in the apartment for weeks. I was too ashamed to admit it. We had a storage unit in the back seat now. Carmen's side folded down, and I made her a little bed with blankets and her fleece cat blanket. She whimpered in her sleep sometimes, shifting on the stitches. I sat up front with the engine off, keys in my lap. Kevin's napkin sat on the dash, the blood turning rust brown in the faint glow of the Arby's sign across the parking lot. I couldn't throw it away. The next morning, Kevin didn't show up. He wasn't there the Thursday after either. Terry just said the campaign was over, that corporate pulled funding. No questions, no concern. Carmen still asked about him now and then. Do you think he misses us? She'd ask from the back seat, or in the checkout line at the gas station. Never often, but just enough to twist something deep in my stomach. I tried to apologize to Terry for causing a scene, for walking out mid-shift, but he just shrugged. Stuff happens, he said, and walked off. I kept working. I picked up cleaning shifts at the Sunrest Motel 2 exits over, still doing graveyards at McDonald's when I could, still running on burnt coffee and stretching every dollar. I ducked the landlord's calls, tried to keep Carmen's clothes clean in the bathroom sink at the Shell station. Eventually, Carmen got into a new school near the shelter. They had aftercare. A church thrift shop gave us clothes and a refurbished tablet for her. Things improved, just a little, but enough. Enough to feel like maybe we weren't sinking anymore. Still, sometimes you'd see a man at a bus stop with a red wig, or hear a clown's voice on a cartoon and it'd freeze. My gut would twist. Not out of fear of Kevin, not exactly, but something else. I still don't like clowns. I still wouldn't leave Carmen alone with someone in face paint. But Kevin saved her, and I was wrong about him. What scares me now isn't that I mistook a good man for a monster. It's that maybe next time he'll hesitate, that he'll doubt myself when it matters most, that I won't swing, that the thing in the dark won't be a raccoon, and no one will be there to stop it. We all like to think we'll know evil when we see it, that well do the right thing, but I've seen what fear makes of us. I've seen the monster in the alley,